So we are back, and we're going to talk about some things people can do at home, but we're going to start kind of at the front end of the problem. Amanda, in Albuquerque, restaurants are responsible for about a third of the city's food waste. Like, what is happening there? Is it that portions are too big? Does everybody throw away like that wilted lettuce on the side? What is happening?
I mean, I think that there are two or three possibilities, right? I think on the one hand, there's an issue of procurement and ordering enough. And so if I'm ordering the same amount of salad this week as I did last week, maybe I have half as many customers. And so there's going to be waste built in to a lack of customers. Or if I'm trying to plan for a big event and we're, doing a catering or a special event, and then perhaps the attendance is low or the attendees aren't liking the food, on the back end, that's all probably going to get tossed unless restaurants are doing some concerted effort for food rescue. At TSK, we do quite a bit of donating to mutual aid groups. So when we know that we have like a batch of burritos that has 1 day left, we can call a street outreach group and they'll come and help us distribute the burritos to folks who need them, just as an example. But I think in typical restaurants, there's an issue of procurement. There's an issue of, it's a little bit tricky to plan. It's a moving target, right, in terms of ordering food. But I also think there is some waste that's built in, again, to this industrial food system that is shipping things for large quantities. By the time the truck arrives at the restaurant, stuff might already be partially damaged, or if things are highly perishable, there might be some food waste just because a truck is coming from California or Arizona or Florida, right, to bring us these products. And so I think, again, like the more locally based we can source things and support our local growers, the less waste we're going to have, because we're going to keep that shelf life a little bit longer, but also more nutritionally dense for longer. And I think that I can't really speak for like all restaurants or what's happening in the industry on the back end, but those are a few of my best guesses. Yeah.
Okay, and there are some great programs or efforts among restaurants. Can you talk about some of those?
I think that, some of what, we're doing, where we're identifying partners where we can, redistribute food to food rescue. I think those are some of the best efforts we can really make as an industry. I think that there's some places I've seen in other cities where there's like a free meal voucher system. So I like prepay for a meal and I put a ticket on a window, and then someone else who needs a meal can purchase those. I think that's an interesting strategy I haven't seen really exercised a lot in Albuquerque, but I'd like to see more of. I think that procuring more from local farmers, I'm always going to like tout that as an option to reduce food waste and to create less greenhouse gases actually in our environment as well. So I think those are some of the strategies that I'd like to see more of.
Yeah, for sure. So Sandra, I wanted to go back to grocery stores because I'm a little bit obsessed with this whole like produce is so expensive right now. Like I totally can not really buy fresh fruit at the grocery store. Like it is so expensive. And then when I ask, what happens to this really expensive produce, I was told that it's thrown away. And I just I can't deal with that in my head, that waste. So I know that grocery stores do donate a lot of food, but that produce or kind of the really perishable stuff, like what happens to all of that stuff? And is there a way for a city or a municipality to be more involved in sort of like issuing consequences to food waste?
Great question, and I understand it can be really frustrating when hearing and thinking about food that is wasted. That reminds me of EPA's wasted food scale. So they changed from a hierarchy to a wasted food scale, similar steps involved in the fall of last year. And it gives the prioritization of and guidance that grocery stores can use, cities can use, states use, hopefully everyone uses in the food system to help reduce food waste. And that starts on the fields. They have steps, and so it's more on the preventing food waste side of things. And then that's relevant to grocery stores, they have steps such as donating to places like Roadrunner or other food rescue organizations in the area to redistribute those. And especially for things that are very perishable, donating to places that aren't going to be transporting it very far, so that whatever rescue organization is in that grocery store's community is going to be the best connection for them. And then it comes down to, if we can't feed people, then animals might be an option. And then composting, so it can be turned into a soil amendment material that it can help grow local food, which is especially helpful for building healthy soils in our arid environment. And so it kind of lays out that methodology. And we're excited when we did talk to Roadrunner. I was able to work with UNM and have an intern from the Sustainability Studies program that wanted to look at food waste, and specifically at grocery stores. So we went and talked to Roadrunner and found out that they said that they're doing a great job of really collecting as much as they can from big grocery stores to redistribute and feed people. And so that was really exciting. They said that the smaller grocery stores are the ones they don't always capture, so she dug in a little bit more to those. And a lot of the smaller grocery stores, just like Three Sisters, are already connected to local organizations. It might be smaller than Roadrunner, but food rescue groups, and sometimes they already have diversion to composting. Little Green Bucket is often the provider that was serving them. And so it was really exciting to hear that aspect of it. But understanding how things are working in our city is really important. So the City of Albuquerque Sustainability Office is excited to be doing this understanding space. And so we're doing planning around how can we expand composting, or understanding what we can do with restaurants with our food scrap pilot project, and working with the NRDC to better understand where's the biggest food waste sectors, what are they, and starting to explore what else we can do around that space. And so I think asking questions personally is a great way to do things. And because there's a lot of grocery stores in the city, there's a lot of things we can do. We all ourselves have the chance personally to reduce food waste, so starting to ask the questions. I personally like to, when I go to a grocery store, to ask what they're doing and see if they're connected. Sometimes they have a lot of staff turnover, maybe a contact changed, maybe it's just a matter of reconnecting with a food rescue organization, or encouragement. And in the grocery store, I like to buy the things that might not be as pretty. The blemished ones, there's a program I think in the UK called the Uglies, and so it's buying the things that might not be shaped perfectly, still taste excellent. And so by doing that, I feel like I'm encouraging having those items and not culling them ahead of time. And so all those little steps really add up, and it's really an exciting time at the City of Albuquerque to be getting this understanding of the great work that's happening here and the potential for the future.
Yeah, I would definitely encourage everyone to be asking questions at your grocery store. We made some calls from our production staff here and found out that some grocery stores don't like to talk about it. Some want an emailed request that they don't respond to. Those tended to be the larger places like Smith's and Albertsons and Target and Walmart, Costco, the kind of those big producers. We did find out that the Fruit Basket works with a local farmer, so that was good. But I would totally encourage everybody in our audience to be asking all the time. So we've touched on a little bit of the industrial food system. We're going to talk more about that in the third segment. You work in local farming. I cannot imagine that farming is easy, and farmers do not benefit in any way. Local farmers do not benefit in any way from food waste. Yeah. What's the story on the ground there?
Yeah, I mean, with Project Feed the Hood, and I think with a lot of farmers locally and just across the board, sort of what Sandra touched on, we're trying to create loops instead of these sort of linear models that are producing this waste, And so with Project Feed the Hood, a large portion of what we've been doing is try to create that sort of closed system where, any sort of scraps, food waste, weeds, from farming, all go back into either getting composted or feeding livestock, different ways in which we can prevent it from just creating more emissions and return it to the earth, really.
Right. Yeah.
Composting is another way I feel like restaurants could really step up their game. We have this incredible service, Little Green Bucket. We have Soilutions. We have this beautiful network we're building, right, in the community to handle food waste. And one thing I just recently learned, we've always put food scraps in there, but now as an organization, we're also putting like paper towels because they can also be easily composted. And as a facility that has a lot of community cooking classes and folks coming in to the space, we go through a lot of paper towels. And that was a real aha moment for us of like, oh, we can also put this in the composting buckets and it can be turned into soil amendments, which is just a really clear way that we can create less waste.
Yeah. We're about to go to break, so just real quickly, does the city have a collection program on the horizon at all? Is this something Albuquerque could have someday?
We're really excited to be working with Fuse Corps. They put executive level fellows into city government to work on big problems. And the challenge that our Fuse fellow has, Matt Fingretten, is working on an equity-focused citywide composting program. So over the winter, he did listening sessions and is in the draft stages, and we're excited that in June, he's going to be doing public comment on the draft plan. And there's actually on our website already I think about 10 in-person events listed and our public comment sessions, and so we're excited for that next stage. This is a really neat time for us.
Awesome, great. So all the resources that we're talking about today will be on the Our Land website. That's nmpbs.org/ourland. So we will be right back.